हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 Krishna. So welcome to the Bhagavad Gita Sarartha Varshani Tika of Srila Vishwanath Chandra Thakur. We have been studying up till now the overviews of chapters 1 to 6 before we begin with chapter 7 onwards, verse by verse. And yesterday we began with the overview of chapter 3. Sorry for yesterday. There was a lot of distraction because this room which I was sitting had a lot of echo, and that was causing the distraction in the sound. I hope today the sound is clear, the audio is clear from my side. Is it clear? Yes or no? You can type in or you can speak also because you can unmute yourself. Is the audio clear or no? Oh, okay, good. So I have changed the place so that yeah, it makes a lot of difference. I understand it. It's very frustrating when you are, especially online, you're trying to focus and then there's distraction, especially when you're trying to learn philosophy like Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna had heard the lofty level of consciousness of Buddhi, which can refer to Jnana Yoga and according to Vishwanath Thakur, it's Bhakti Yoga, which is beyond the three modes. And that's why he's asking, Kim karmani ghore mam? Why are you engaging in this? Ghora karma. Why are you engaging in this ghora karma? So that's how he begins this question. And Krishna has spoken about five different levels, actually four. One is Nirgun Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, where Tada Yogam Avapsasi, 2.53, and Nishkam Karma Yoga beginning from 2.47 onwards. And he has spoken about Karma Kanda also, fighting for attaining Swarga. But if he gives up fighting, it will be leading to sinful activity, which Arjuna is not recommended to do. So Krishna recommends Arjuna Nishkama Karma Yoga. We saw that. Arjuna thinks, if you think I'm not qualified for Nirguna Bhakti, then let me practice Gyan. Why are you engaging in Ghora Karma? That's Arjuna's question. Then, based on Nishtha, there are these Jnana Yogena Sankyanam, Karma Yogena Yoginam. Nishkama Karma Yoga, with the purification of the Antakaran, one will come to the platform of Jnana. So, one cannot, come to the platform of Gyan without the purification of the heart, that is, without practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga. So, that's the point Krishna makes. There is Nishkama Karma Yoga in the mode of passion, and there is Nishkama Karma Yoga in the mode of goodness, which is equal to Gyan. So, those who are situated in Gyan, Gyan Yogena Sankhyana, they are more fit for analysis between matter and spirit, Neti Neti, the process of Gyan Yoga. And those who are adhikar for karma, they are karma yogena yogina. So that's what he says. And then he starts instructing him that, without beginning of karmana anaramban, you cannot attain the state of naishkarme. Naishkarme is freedom from reactions, pious and sinful, by practice of nishkam karma yoga. When Nishkama Karma Yoga matures and you come to a state where you're completely freed from the pious and sinful reactions and you're steadily situated in Gyan, that is Sattva, you cannot come without Karmanam Anaramban, without beginning, prescribed performance. And then just by taking sannyas also, externally wearing the dress for sannyasi without the purification of the heart, you cannot attain perfection. Why? Because Kashchit Shanamapi, not even for a moment, you cannot be doing without any activity. You will be forced because Sarve Prakritir Jairaguner. And if you are externally controlling your senses but internally contemplating in the mind, you are fooled. Indriyarthan Vimudatman, and you're a pretender. Don't be a pretender. Because better to engage. Yes to Indriyani Manasa, Niyam Marabate Arjuna. Karmendriya Karma Yogam Asaktam Sa Vishishashe. So that is better. Karmendriya Karma Yogam, that is Nishkama Karma Yoga. And then, even to maintain your body, Sharira Yatra Piche, You cannot attain that without performing karma. You have to perform karma to in order to maintain your body also. So that's how Krishna, mentions that you have adhikar for karma. So perform karma, karma yoga, nishkam karma yoga. So we saw this, and then Arjuna has a fear of sinful reactions. So that's why he says yagyartat karmananyatra. When you perform yagya other than for the purpose of yagya, then it will lead to karmandan. But if you perform for him, tadartma karma kote, you will be free from, the reactions. You will not be bound. You will not be bound. Mukta Sangha Samachara. So this is where we ended our discussion yesterday. And I mentioned that, now Karma Yoga is better than Jnana Yoga. He has established here. But now, if you're not qualified even for Karma Yoga, then practice Karma Kanda. So that will be the discussion which will begin from the next section onwards. Yes, Shrishti Gupta Mataji has raised her hands. Anything, Mataji, you have to say?
No, Prabhuji,
Any?
by mistake.
Okay, okay. Yeah. So now we'll begin with the next section, 10 to 16. Yagyartat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. So now Krishna will speak. I mentioned, how Nishkama Karma Yoga, there is activity, liberation. Jnana Yoga, there is inactivity, that also leads to liberation. Bhakti Yoga, there is activity, but leads to Golok Vrindavan. But Sakam Karma, there is activity which leads to heaven. Vikarma, no activity performed as per dharma, it will lead to hell. Or not following the Vedas, you fight for self-aggrandizement, it will lead to hell. Now, having spoken about Karma Yoga superior to Jnana Yoga in the first 10 verses, now, Arjuna, if you feel you are Sakama Karma, at this platform, then also you do actions for the purpose of yajna with desires, but ultimately come to Nishkam Karma Yoga. You know, so that's the point. He will now discuss from 3.10 to 16 in 7 verses. Okay, this is a very interesting section. स यज्ञः प्रजा सृष्ट्वा पूर्वाच प्रजापति अनेन प्रसविष्टोद्धम एषवोऽष्टिष्टकामधुक् Brahma Prajapati, having created the population along with sacrifice. Sa Yajna Praja Srishtva. Long ago spoke, Puravacha, may you prosper by this sacrifice. Anena Prasavishtadham, may it fulfill all your material desires. Eshava Astu Ishtakamaduk. So, Vishnu Chakatakur mentions an impure heart, person with impure, one who's having an impure heart should perform actions without desire rather than give up action. Don't give up action, but if you have impure heart, you have desires, still perform actions, but don't give up actions. Now, if you cannot be without desire in actions, you should still perform actions offered to Vishnu with desires. So that's the point now. Because Sa Yajna, along with Yajna, along with sacrifice, Prajapati, Praja Shishtva, having created the Praja, who? Prajapati, Brahma, he, gave these sacrifices. And by these sacrifices, you can fulfill your material desires. So long ago, along with Yajna, please remember, Yajna is Vishnu. Yajna Vishnu. Brahma created the creatures qualified for offering to Vishnu and said, increase more and more this population by this yajna or dharma. And may this yajna bestow all your desired enjoyment. Ishta kamaduk. Ishta kamaduk, indicates they had material desires. So here the Vedic understanding is a very broad understanding, which today it's very difficult to understand in today's age and time. That always yajna is Vishnu. Yajna is meant for Vishnu. And along with Vishnu, there are these devatas, the host of devatas. That's why you see also in some of the traditional temples, the main deity will be Vishnu, and in and around the temple, there will be all these devata temples because the devatas are the limbs of Vishnu. But one who has desires, he will worship Yagya, Vishnu, along with the devatas because he has material desires to fulfill. So that's why in the next verse it will mention Devan bhavayate neva te ते देव भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भावयन्तः श्रेयपरम् अवाप्स्यते. By that sacrifice, Anina, please the devatas, Devan bhavayata, and the devatas will please you. Te deva bhavayantu vaha. Being mutually pleased, parasparam bhavayanta, you will all attain the highest benefit. Shreya param avapsate. So, Yajna is meant for Vishnu only. But when you have material desires, you perform yajna along with the offerings to the devatas. Then, by this yajna, what happened? The devatas were appointed officers of Vishnu, for the various departments, rain, Agni, and all that. And specific devata has specific powers to bestow desires. So, by offering pleasing the sacrifices to the devatas who are the limbs of Vishnu, Yagya, what will happen? They will supply all your needs. You will please them and they will please you. And then ultimately it will lead to the highest benefit. Shreya Param Avapsate. So Bhava here indicates affection in this verse. Bhava is emotion. You offer this with specific emotions. Then Ishtan Bhogan hi o deva dasyante yajna bhavita tairdhattan apradayebhya yo bhunte stena eva sah. The devatas, deva, pleased with sacrifice, yajna bhavita, will bestow on you vah dasyante, desired enjoyment, ishtan bhogan. He who enjoys that is given by the devatas, yah tair dattan bhunte, without offering them, ebbe apradaya, is indeed a thief. Stena eva saha. So ultimately, uh, here the point is made clear. He speaks the fault of not performing this activity. Who enjoys what is given by the devatas, such as food through the rain, without giving anything to the performance of this Panch Mahayagya? So there is this Panch Mahayagya which is mentioned in the Vedas, the five great sacrifices. And one second, I will just refer to that Panch Mahayagya. The Panch Mahayagyas, the five great sacrifices are sacrifices to the Pitras, worship of the Devatas, that is called as Prityagya. Worship of the Devatas is called as Deva Yajna. Recitation of the Vedas, it is called as Swadhyaya Yajna. Feeding humans is, I don't know what kind of yajna, that's Anna Yajna. And feeding other living entities is also like, Anya Bhutadi, Yajna. So, because ultimately, by performing this Panch Mahayagya, you will be able to, because you are getting this food because of rain, and the in charge of rain is Indra. So you worship Indra by the Pitra Yagya, you know, and then you worship the Devtas by the Deva Yagya, and then you worship the Vedas by studying the Vedas Yagya. So all this by performing this Panch Mahayagya, you will ultimately able to what? Get your desired results. That is, Ishtan Bhogan. Otherwise, if you don't offer them, then you are what? You are considered what? You are a um, you are a mithyachari. Sorry, not a. You are a thief. You are a thief. Because what is offered by the devas, if you don't, offer them back, then you are a thief. So that is what here it is being indicated. Okay. Now, यज्ञशिष्टाशिनः सन्तः मुच्यन्ते सर्वकिल्बिष ये भुञ्जते अगं पापं ये भुञ्जते ते त्वागं पापा ये पचन्त्यात्मकारणात्. Just a minute, give me. I'm just trying to open the BCT commentary. Give me a minute, please. I don't know how do I go back in this. Hmm. Just give me a minute, please. Okay, just a second. I'm just opening the book. Just a minute. Yeah. Okay. Those respectable people, Santa, who eat the remnants of sacrifice, Yagya Shishtashna, are freed from all sins. Muchante Sarva Kilbisha. Those sinful persons, Papa, who cook for themselves, Ye Pachante Atmakarana, suffer from sin. Te tu agam punjate. They only eat sin. So those who eat the food remnants of yagyas, such as Vishnu Chakra Thakur mentions, Vaishwa Deva Yagya, become freed from all sins. Usually at the new time, there is small quantities of food which is supposed to be offered to the various devtas. Because we have material desires, and that's why we offer worship to Vishnu along with the devtas because we have material desires. So those who eat remnants of the Yagya Shishta, they are freed from sins. But those who don't do so, and eat for Atma Karanat, cook for eat for themselves for sense gratification, they can suffer from sin. And then now Krishna gives the whole cycle now. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhava yagyat bhavati parjanya yagya karma samudbhavam. All creatures arise from food. Anna. Annad bhavanti bhutani. Bhutani means living beings and bhavanti means they arise, they come. How? From Anna. Because we'll come to the cycle. Food arises from rain. Parjanyat anna sambhava. Parjanya refers to a particular cloud by which rainfall happens. Parjanyat anna sambhava. And rain arises from sacrifice. Yagyat bhavati parjanya. Sacrifice arises from prescribed actions. Yagya karma samudvam. So the explanation continues in the next verse also. We'll take this verse also together. Karma. So where is karma go? Karma Brahma Udbhavam Vitti. Action arises from Vedas. Brahma is called as Vedas here. Udbhavam. Udbhavam means arises with the Vedas arise from Brahman. Brahma, Brahma here is the Vedas. Akshara. Akshara is referring to Brahman, the absolute truth. Samudbhavan. Therefore, this all pervading Brahman, Tasmat Sarvagata Brahma. you know. So here now Brahma refers to not Vedas but Supreme Brahman, all pervading, is eternally situated in sacrifice. Nityam Yagye Pratishtita. So here the cycle I think is drawn here. So Brahma is Sarvagatam as Brahma Jyoti, as Paramatma, as his energies or as his representatives. And the cycle is, I think, given in the next drawing. So humans eat grains, and grain ultimately transforms into semen, and the semen is impregnated by the husband in the wife's womb, and that gives rise to human beings. So annad bhavanti bhutani. And all other living creatures also give rise like that only, different ways, of course. And annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhava. So the anna, ultimately, how does it come? From clouds. And then how does now clouds happen? Rains happen because of yagya. And where is yagya mentioned? Yagya is the karma, prescribed duties given in the Vedas. Where do the Vedas come from? It was comes from actions come from the Vedas, and the Vedas come from Brahman. And that's why this all pervading Brahman, Nitya Yagya Pratishtita. And then one who doesn't follow this, evam pravartitam chakram, nanuvartaya iha agayur indriyarama, mokam partha sajivati. He who does not follow yah tu anuvartayati, the moments of this cycle, evam pravritram chakram, and instead leads a life of sin. Aga ayu. Aga means sin. Ayu means his life is filled with sin, enjoying his senses. Indriya Ramo lives in vain. So moham jivati. So the cycle is, annad, bhavanti bhutani, you know. And where does anna come from? Parjanya. And yagyat bhavati parjanya, yagya karma samadmamo. Karma, Brahma udbhavam vidhi. And Brahma comes from Akshara. And this Akshara, Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahman, all pervading, Nitya Yagya Pratishtita. So Krishna is Akshara. He is the source and he is also the goal. So if you don't follow this chakra and attain the Lord, then you will be Agayua Indriya Ramo. You will be misled and you will keep on rotating in the cycle of birth and death. So ultimately, the cycle of sacrifice is instituted so that you can come out of the cycle of birth and death. So now, having spoken that if you have desires also, you are not qualified for karma yoga, then practice karma kanda. Now Krishna speaks that Arjuna, if you are qualified for Gyan yoga, still practice yoga, karma yoga, to set an example. So that he speaks, this is a famous verse. Yes, स्यात् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानव आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टः तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते. The human manava who is attracted to the atma, यह तो आत्मरतिर एव स्यात्, satisfied in the atma, atmatripta, and completely satisfied with atma alone, atmanyeva atmana tushta, has nothing to do in regarding fulfilling desires. Tasya karyam na vidyate. So Vishnu Thakur mentions that it has now been stated that if you cannot be without desires, you can perform action with desires, which was in the previous section. But he who reaches the stage of Gyan because of purity of heart never performs action out of desire. One who has got the purity of heart and attained the stage of Gyan, he doesn't perform actions, out of desire. Because he's Atma Trupta, he's Atma Rati. He's he's Atma Ram. He's not Ram, as in the previous verse it was mentioned. And Atmaneva cha santushta. He takes pleasure only in the self. Tasya karyam na vidyate. He need not perform actions. Because he is enjoying the self, is blissful in the realization of the Atma, he does not engage at all in the pleasures of the material objects. Being engaged only in the Atma, Atmeva, he does not perform any actions related to the senses and sense objects. Tasya karyam na vidyate. Next verse also speaks the same thing. Naiva tasya kritenartha na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschid artha vyapashaya. He does not gain na eva artha by performance of action. Tasya kritena. See, you have to understand now, we cannot go into the deep technicalities of these verses, the philosophical deep explanations, because here we are just doing an overview. You can refer to the verse by verse discussion which we had. We have explained quite in detail. Generally, person with desires performs action because he has to something to fulfill, but he has no desires pertaining to the senses because he takes pleasure only in the self. So he does not gain by performance action, nor lose by not performing action. Na kritena hi kaschana. For a Kshatriya like Arjuna, you know, if he has desires for Swarga, he will fight. But he has no desire for even earthly or Swarga, but he does it out of duty. Nishkama Karma Yoga. Without any desire, he performs his duty as a Kshatriya, then it is Nishkama Karma Yoga. That will lead to liberation. And once he is liberated, still he can perform his duty just to set an example. And at that point, he need not perform action, but still he'll perform action. And he will not lose by not performing action. Whereas in the lower level, when one is having desires and he is qualified for karma, if he doesn't do that, then he'll incur sin. So that's why it does not lose for not performance of action. Na akritena ikashan. For him, asya, nothing in this world, na kaschit sarva bhuteshu is worthy of pursuing for fulfillment of his desires. Artha vyapashata. Because he has no material desires. He is atmarati, atmatrupta, atmasantushta. So by performance of action, there is no accrual of results by desired by him. He doesn't perform action because he is nishkam. Is jnana, atmarati. And by not performing action, there is no loss because nothing in the whole universe, right from Brahma to an inanimate object, can be worthy refuge for fulfilling his goals. Na kashid artha vyapasya. Because he has taken shelter of what? Krishna. He has taken the real shelter of Krishna. In that sense, deeper sense, Vishnu Chakra Thakur mentions. Now, having said that, Krishna concludes. तस्मादसक्त सततम कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो हि आचरन् कर्म param apnoti purushah. So, Arjuna, you're qualified to perform Nishkam Karma. You're not of this Jnana level. Nor you should perform actions with desires, which he spoke from 3.10 to 16. And you're not qualified at this level, Atmarati Ataptushta. So that is why you perform Nishkam Karmega. That is what Tasmat means. Therefore, always perform your prescribed actions. Satatam Karyam Karma Samachara without attachment, Asakta. Performing action with attachment, Asakto hi Acharan Karma, a person attains liberation. Param Apnoti Purusha. So, since you do not have qualification for immediately taking to the level of Gyan, and performing actions with desires is not suitable for you. Since you have spiritual intelligence, you should perform action without desire. That means Nishkam Karma Yoga. So that is being explained. By performing obligatory prescribed duties, Karyam, without attachment, you will ultimately attain liberation. At this point, Krishna is speaking about liberation, but the highest liberation is to be situated in one's Sarupa. You know. And then he gives the example. Karmeneva हि संसिद्धिम् आस्तिकजनकादय लोकसङ्ग्रममेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि. Just by performance of prescribed actions, karmana eva hi, Janaka and others, Janakadaya attained success, some siddhim asita. And just with the consideration of setting example for others, loka sangramo evapi sampashan. You should perform prescribed work. Kartum arhasi. This is Vishwanath Thakur. So, I have given the Bhaktivinoda Thakur translation also. Saintly kings such as Janaka, who were qualified for Gyan, attained supreme perfection in the form of bhakti by performing their prescribed duties. Therefore, in consideration of setting an ideal for people on general, you should also perform your prescribed duty. So, here is a deeper understanding. It is not that Janak Maharaj was a Jnani who was seated in Gyan platform. He was a pure devotee. and he was transcendental to the three modes. But he came down as a Kshatriya within the Varnashram and did his Kshatriya duties just to lead the Praja. So that is what Arjuna is also being instructed here, you know, that, just like Janaka others have done, he also. And then he gives this general principle, which is very, very famous. Yad yadacharati shreshtas tattadevetaro janah sayad pramanam kurute lokastat anuvartate. Whatever actions the superior performs, yad yadacharati shreshta, other persons will also perform. Tat tad iva itara jana. What you do according to scriptural authority, sa yat pramanam kurute. The pramanam refers to Shabda Praman. Others follow. Loka tad anuvartate. So Vishwanath Thakur says in this verse, he explains how the people are taught by following example. It's only by acharan. There is achar, there is prachar, there is vichar. The prachar cannot happen without achar. Prachar means prakrish rupena achar. When one himself practices in his life, and then when he speaks, then that shows that it is there in his acharan, and people very quickly pick up from there. I've mentioned here achar, vichar, and prachar. So prachar is very easy to do, but to implement in one's own life is not so easy. And acharan is still more difficult. So if you do acharan, then you need not preach also, because your conduct yourself is, people will follow that. People will see that, and they will be inclined to practice. I mentioned prachar is prakrishta rupena achar, and there is hearing, aditi, bodha means understanding it and applying it in one's own life, achar, and then preaching it, prachar. And in Shvetashwar Upanishad, it is mentioned Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. Shravanam means to hear, Manam means deeply contemplate, and Nididhyasana means deeply realize it, and then you speak. Yadyad acharati shreshta. Now Krishna gives his own example. Name partasthi kartavyam त्रिषु लोकेषु किंचन नानावाप्त्यम अवाप्तव्यम वर्त एव च कर्मणि. For me, Krishna is saying, may, O son of Pritha, Partha, there is nothing, na kinchana asti, in the three worlds, trishu lokeshu, that has to be done, kartavyam. I don't have any kartavya. That has not been attained, na anavaptam, or which must be attained, avaptavya. But I also perform duties. Varta evacha karmani. So in three verses, the Lord uses himself as an example. The Lord has nothing to attain from this world. You know, He's Aptakam, he's Atmaram, and he doesn't enjoy his inferior energy also, because he's with his superior spiritual energy, Srimati Radharani and Lakshmi's. But still, to set an example, he performs karma. Then he says, yadi ham navarteyam jhatu karmanyatendriya mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. If I were not to engage, yadi ham navarteyam, in work attentively, karmani atendriya, atendriya means attentively, at any time, jhatu, men would follow my example. Manushya mama vartma anuvartante, in all respects, sarvasha. So, what Vishwanath Thakur says is that the Lord Himself is using this example. Anuvartante means they do follow and they will follow. Mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. And in the next verse, he mentions Utsideri ime lokana kuryam karma chedaham Shankarasya kartasyam upahanyam ima praja. If I were not to work, na kuryam karma chedaham, all people would be destroyed. Utsider imeloka. I will be the cause of mixed caste. Sankarasya kartaswam, and would pollute the descendants. Upahanyam ima praja. Taking me as an example, the people not performing dharma, prescribed duties, will become degraded, utsider, destroyed. Mixed caste would result, and I would be the cause of this. I would pollute the progeny. But we see Krishna's Dwarka pastimes, he manifests this, because he performed all his duties as a Grahastha. And in the Krishna in the Vrindavan pastimes, which cannot be imitated, especially his Ras Leela, you know, because before that he lifted Govardhan. So that he does for the pleasure of his devotees, the Ras Leela, that is not to be, taken as a acharan. The real acharan is, specifically, you should see Krishna as in Dwarka. Because the pastimes with the Brajbasis is spontaneously out of love. So, because we cannot imitate powerful beings, like Shiva can drink the poison, you know, and you cannot imitate. People think that Shiva also takes bhang, but Shiva doesn't take bhang. And if you drink it, you'll get intoxicated and get affected. So, if I don't do actions, then there'll be what? People will be degraded. So that's the point Krishna makes. So now, if you are qualified for jnana, still practice karma yoga to set a example. So that's the point he makes in this section. Now, before I go to the next section, any questions you have? We are just going through a very brief overview, but any questions, any clarifications you have? Yes, Tukaram Mishkin Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot.
Yes.
Earlier in this lecture, you were mentioning 5 yagyas.
Yes.
They are to be performed daily and they are for us, those who are practicing bhakti also.
Very interesting question. Very nice question. Basically, what is given in the Smriti Shastras as part of Varnashram, and the same in the Vaishnava, scriptures, for us, since we are practicing bhakti in the Gaudiya line, we have to, see through the Gaudiya Shastras what is to be done. So for that, you'll have to refer to the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Grahasthas, what did they perform? So we have to see that as an example and we have to do that. Now, in the one of the article called as Bhaktya Loka, tat tat karma pravartanat, there is this 6 items which are favorable for pure devotional service. उत्साह निश्चय धैर्य तत् कर्म प्रवर्तनात् संग त्याग शतोवृत्तिर षड्भिर भक्तिर प्रसीदति. So there, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that for the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how the Grahasthas perform their duties. You have to see the conduct of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates were Grahasthas. So there he gives around, I think, maybe 48 or 50 things, the Grahasthas' duties. And then he gives the duties of the sannyasis and the brahmacharis who are practicing bhakti. So we'll have to see that and we'll have to follow that. Now, I don't remember the list. We can go through the list, and that is what is ideally to be followed, and not as per the Varnashram, the Karma Shastras, which propagate Karma Yoga. Are you clear?
Yeah. Why I got this doubt is daily we feed dogs and cows little bit, not much. And also,
Just a second, just a minute, huh? Just a minute, just hold on. What were you saying?
Prabhuji,
Hmm.
little bit of, we feed animals, dogs, cows, and things. And also we give bhiksha, little bit, not much. And
Mm-hmm.
I had this confusion whether to, um, of course, we do tarpan, pindadan and all,
Mm-hmm.
whether to do a daily worship of our ancestors. Every time I show them this um, arti, I get this doubt. So luckily it came here.
Well, that's a subject in itself, but as of now, what I can tell is,
Yeah,
that there are two levels. Let me explain you, and please try to understand. There are two levels we can do it. One is that although we are practicing bhakti, but our faith is very,
little.
and we feel that obligation that if I don't do this, maybe, they will be in trouble or the devtas might give me trouble. That means our faith in Krishna and bhakti is not strong. This might be one reason we might be doing. At a higher level, we have Nishtha in, I don't mean Nishtha means firm faith, but we have, firm faith that, I am worshipping Vishnu. Vishnu is the source of all the devatas. And even though I have material desires, but I'll continue to worship Vishnu. And ultimately, I'm doing all these things so that ultimately they get the mercy of Vishnu.
Right,
So at this level, doing is okay. And there are
right.
again little higher levels also, which we'll not discuss now. So it depends on the consciousness of the person,
Yes.
and there are many factors involved in it. So
It's good enough for me, Prabhu. Now I
yes,
got
yes,
clarity.
yes,
I'll
yes,
continue to perform that. I mean, till such time I am, I am able to understand them fully, or
yes,
rather,
yes,
my conscience is
yes,
elevated.
yes, yes.
Thank you,
Okay.
Prabhu.
Yeah. Bir Krish Prabhuji has a question. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes.
Prabhu, can we say that because of so much emphasis on Niskam Karma Yoga, this
Mhm.
Karmanandeva Adhikare was, this verse is very famous, in general public. Because of that?
No, not really because of that. Because, the teaching begins from there. The teaching begins from there, that to perform Nishkam Karma Yoga, first is Ma Phaleshu Kadarshana.
Mm.
Don't desire the fruits. That is Gyan. It begins with that knowledge, you know, and you should have Adhikar, you know. That means Adhikar means you should be in the Varnashram, first of all. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And based on the Adhikar, there are different Shastras which will tell you what are your duties according to whether you are a Brahmana, a Kshatriya, or a Vaishya, whatever it is. So the teaching begins from there. So that's why that is the most famous verse you can say in one sense.
Uh, right.
Otherwise, I don't know really. But of course, the same principle you can apply in bhakti also. That when I do any actions for the Lord pleasure, I should not desire the fruits, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then, when I perform anything accomplished in bhakti, I should not have that sense of doership. Then I'll be still bound. So, in the matter of even bhakti also, until you come to the point of self-realization, it is helpful for to be in this kind of a consciousness. So, the Bhagavad Gita first six chapters are, karma. It doesn't mean, it doesn't have any application in bhakti. Ultimately, everything is bhakti from Vishwanath Chakravarti's point of view, or Prabhupada also in his purports, he's giving us, you know,
Mm.
his bhakti purports based on Sarva Dharman Pariteja. We have to see like that.
Right. Right.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions anyone else has? Okay, I will take up this small section and then tomorrow we'll complete this 30 to 43 and start with the fourth chapter. Now, having spoken about how Karma Yoga is better than Jnana Yoga, and then if you are not qualified for Karma Yoga means Nishkam Karma Yoga basically, then practice Karma Kand. From Karma Kand, come to Nishkam Karma Yoga. And if you are qualified for Jnana Yoga, still come down to Nishkam Karma Yoga to set up an example. He speaks here in this section. Now, basically, he distinguishes between differences between Karma Kand and Karma Yoga. So in a small section, we'll take it up. Okay. So 2.39 Buddhi Yoga is mentioned. Buddhi Yoga can be referred to Bhakti Yoga, which was 2.40 to 45. And then Gyan Yoga also, in one sense, Sankhya is already mentioned. Niskam Karma Yoga 247 onwards. Now, between Bhakti Yoga and Karma Kand, which is spoken in 2.31 to 37, he had contrasted. So again, now the contrast is coming between Karma Yoga and Nishkama Karma Yoga. Karma Kand and Nishkam Karma Yoga, sorry. Sakta Karmanya Vidvamsa Yata Kurvanti Bharata Kuryad Vidvamsata Saktah Chikershu Loka Sangraham. Just as the ignorant, yata avidvams, work with attachment, sak kurvati. So these are karma kandis, sakama karmis. O Bharat, the wise, tata vidwan, desirous to teach the people, loka sangram chikeshu, should perform work without attachment. Asakta karmani kurya. See, you have to understand, even though one is in the varnashram and his heart is purified, he has to wait till he comes to the stage of vanaprastha. And then only go to the forest and then take sannyas. But although he's studying Gyan now, still he continues to give up, still he continues to do action, because if he gives up activity, although he is qualified, others will try to imitate. Generally, people don't go through the trouble of going through the purification and coming to that position. And generally, imitation is, very easy. you know. So that's why a Vidwan, you know, also engages in action, but he's asakta. Asakta here means he does without asakta karmana kuryat, without attachment. And the avidwan, he's sakta karma, because he had desire, for the fruits. So both are working externally, but there is a difference in the consciousness. One is attached, other is detached. न बुद्धिदं जनेत ज्ञानं कर्म संगीनां जोषयेत् सर्वकर्माणि विद्वान् युक्त समाचरण. The wise man, Vidwan, should not disturb the intelligence, na buddhi bheda janayit, of the ignorant attached to the results of work. Agyanam karma sanginam. The jnani should not say, hey, why are you attached to the work? You'll be bound. Be situated like me in Gyan. But he is not qualified. You need adhikar. Jnana yogena sankhyanam. If he gives up karma and he tries to come to the platform of Gyan without the purity of heart, he cannot sustain there. He just cannot sustain, because it requires purification. So that is why engaging in all work himself with detachment, samacharam yukta, he should engage them in activity. Sarvani karmani joshe. So Vishwanath Chakra Thakur mentions, but actually one who is in bhakti, he can take this person who is attached to karma sanginam, directly to practice bhakti, and then there is no fault. And Prabhupada also follows that in his purport. Now, two verses will explain the difference between the Vidwan and the Avidwan. Prakrite kriyanani gune karmani sarvasha ahankar vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. The person bewildered by pride, ahankar vimudhatma, thinks, manyate, that he is the doer, kartaham iti, of actions, karmani, which are being done completely. Sarvasha kriyamanani, by the body, senses and pranas made of prakriti. Prakrite gune. This body is made of prakriti, which is of three gunas. And ultimately, you do actions and get results. Oh, I have done it. Ahankar vimudhatma, he might think, because he is attached to actions. But a person who is in knowledge, he is not like this ignorant person. Vimud Atma. He is not like the Vimud Atma. So that is the difference between the ignorant who thinks that he is a performer of all actions, which are actually done by the material senses, pranas, and the Prakriti. Prakriter Gune. Another difference in the next verse. Tattva vittu mahabhavo guna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. But the wise man knows, who knows. Tattva vittu. Tattva vit means one who knows tattvas, about the knowledge of what? Guna karma vibhagayo. He knows he can, he is different from the senses and their actions. There are the guna and the guneshu, the sense objects, and then the controller, the sense devata, the senses, sense objects, and sense devatas. The senses are in the mode of passion, the sense objects are in the mode of ignorance, the sense devatas in the mode of goodness. So he can see that everything is happening by the interaction of these three, and he can guna karma vibhagaya. He can analyze and differentiate, and that's why guna guneshu vartante. Iti matva, knowing that he doesn't engage, na sajjate. Oh mighty am, Mahabhav is not attached to the sense objects, na sajjate, understanding matva, that only the senses are engaged with the sense objects. Guna gunashi vartante iti. Now, prakrite guna samudha sajjante guna karmasu tan akrisna vido madan krisna vinna vichalate. Those bewildered by the senses made of prakriti, prakriti guna samudha, are attached to sense objects. Sajjante guna karma. So, one who knows everything. Krishna with means to know. Krishna means everything. Does not disturb. Na vichalet. Those foolish persons. Tan mandan, who do not know. Krishna vrit. So there is another term he uses. Krishna vit and Krishna vit. If the jivas are separate from the senses and sense objects without relation to them, then why it is seen that people are attached to sense objects? This verse answers, because they are akrishna vidan madan. Because of absorption in the senses made of matter, jivas become bewildered. Prakriter guna samuda. Just like a man possessed of ghost thinks himself a ghost. Vishnu Thakur says, the jiva absorbed in the senses made of matter thinks themselves the senses. So everyone out in the world is a ghost because they consider themselves body. And body as senses, the goal of life is to enjoy the senses. So they become attached to the sense objects. Guna karmasu. Guna karmasu. The man who knows all, Krishnavid, does not disturb those who are ignorant. He does not attempt to make them realize that as jivas they are different from senses, that they are not the senses. Instead, he engages them in action without desire, which will remove the absorption of senses. One then cannot cure a man possessed of a ghost even by instructing him 100 times. You are you are not a ghost. You are a man. You are not a ghost. Instead, one cures him by use of mantras, jewels, and medicines, which remove the affliction. Similarly, by engaging them gradually, he removes the disease. So that's what this verse mentions. So these were the differences. Now, the next two sections, we will take it up tomorrow. But any questions you have about this section, let us take it up now. Any questions, any clarifications? Questions you have about this section, between difference between karma kanda and nishkarma yoga, 25 to 29. Anyone has any questions? No. So, okay, we will stop here. It is 8:15. Generally, I take till 8:30, but we'll try to stop today because I don't want to start a new section which I'll not be able to complete. So tomorrow we'll complete both the sections together. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्णा।